Ever feel like your brain is stuck on repeat? Like it just plays those same negative thoughts over and over again?
Oh, absolutely. It's like having a broken record stuck on, I'm not good enough, or what if I mess this up?
Or things never go my way?
Hmm.
Happens to the best of us, right?
It does, yeah. You see, our brains are kind of hardwired to be on the lookout for threats.
Like some kind of leftover survival mechanism.
Exactly, like a caveman constantly scanning for saber-toothed tigers, even if there aren't any around anymore.
Okay, so we're stuck in fight or flight mode, even when there's nothing to fight or flee from. I guess that explains all the negative thoughts. But is there any way to actually change that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Our brains are actually amazingly adaptable. We call it neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, it's the ability to create these new neural pathways. It means we can actually rewire our thinking patterns.
So you're saying we can change our brains just by changing our thoughts?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's not about completely erasing negative thoughts, they're a normal part of life, but it's about learning to manage them so they don't take over,
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? What's the first step in this whole brain rewiring thing?
Well, it all starts with awareness. We have to become like detectives of our own minds.
Protectives.
Yeah, start paying attention to the kinds of negative thoughts you have most often. What are the themes? When do they pop up? What triggers them?
So like, if you're listening out there, think about your own patterns. Do you doubt yourself a lot? Compare yourself to others constantly? Or maybe you always jump to the worst case scenario?
Exactly. Once you're aware of those patterns, you can start disrupting them.
Disrupting them. How do we do that?
Instead of just accepting those negative thoughts as facts, you start questioning them.
So for example, if I'm thinking I'm going to totally bomb this presentation, I shouldn't just let that thought spiral.
Right. Instead, challenge it. Ask yourself, hold on, what evidence do I actually have for that? Have I prepared? Have I done presentations before that went okay?
Okay, so it's about shifting from like automatic negativity to more conscious thinking.
Exactly. We call that reframing. It's about choosing a more helpful and realistic perspective.
Got it. Awareness and reframing. That's the foundation for rewiring our brains.
Yeah.
But what are some specific tools we can use to, actually build on that foundation?
Well, there are a few powerful techniques. One of the most effective is positive self-talk. Instead of beating ourselves up with all that negative self-talk, we can try to, consciously choose kinder and more encouraging words for ourselves.
So instead of saying, ugh, I'm such an idiot, I might say something like, okay, I made a mistake. Everyone does. What can I learn from this?
Perfect example. It sounds simple enough, but changing those deeply ingrained negative scripts takes practice, takes consistency.
Consistency. Speaking of, what are some other techniques we can, weave into our daily lives?
Another really powerful tool is practicing gratitude. It's like a superpower for your brain. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it's kind of harder to dwell on all the negative stuff.
So it's like those gratitude journals I've heard about.
Exactly. Just taking a few minutes every day to write down a couple of things you're grateful for, it can have a really big impact on your mindset.
Yeah.
You start training your brain to look for the good stuff instead of automatically going to the bad. And guess what?
What?
When you practice gratitude, you actually strengthen those neural pathways in the prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex. Sounds kind of technical.
It's the part of your brain that's in charge of all the positive emotions and decision-making.
So I'm basically giving my brain a happiness boost.
Yeah. You're wiring it for more positive choices.
Pretty cool. So we've got positive self-talk, we've got gratitude. What other tools should we add to our brain-boosting toolkit?
Well, another powerful technique is mindfulness. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts can sometimes feel like a runaway train?
Oh, all the time, especially when I'm stressed or anxious.
Mindfulness is about, stepping off that runaway train. It's about learning to observe your thoughts and feelings without judging them, recognizing that they're just thoughts, not facts.
So instead of getting swept away by those thoughts, we're creating some space.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine you're sitting by a river, just watching the water flow by. Your thoughts are kind of like the current, constantly moving. Mindfulness is about becoming the observer on the bank.
I like that.
You notice the thoughts, but you don't get caught up in them.
Okay, I get the analogy, but how does that actually help with negative thinking?
Well, when you practice mindfulness, you start to realize you have a choice in how you respond to those thoughts. You don't have to believe every single one.
So it's not about erasing those negative thoughts altogether. It's more about learning to manage them.
Exactly. And with practice, you can train your mind to be less reactive to those negative thoughts and more able to choose a more positive, helpful response.
All right, I'm convinced. Mindfulness is going on my to-do list.
Yeah.
So we've got these great techniques: positive self-talk, gratitude, mindfulness. But rewiring our brains, it sounds like a pretty long-term project. How do we stay motivated, actually make these changes stick?
Well, you're right. It's definitely not a quick fix. It's about building new habits. And just like any habit, it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes consistency.
So it's like going to the gym, but for our brains.
Yeah.
We can't expect to see results after just one workout, right?
Exactly. You need to make those mental workouts a regular part of your routine. It could be as simple as, incorporating a gratitude practice into your morning routine, maybe doing a few minutes of mindfulness meditation every day, or consciously using positive self-talk throughout your day.
So find what works for you and just keep at it, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Right. Even small, consistent actions can create really big shifts over time. Remember, you're literally rewiring your brain, building those new neural pathways. It's kind of like learning a new language. You wouldn't expect to become fluent overnight, would you?
True. It takes practice.
Oh.
And speaking of practice, what about those times when we slip up and fall back into those old patterns of negative thinking? It can be pretty discouraging.
Oh, it's totally normal to have setbacks. Everybody does. The key is to, be kind to yourself. View those setbacks as opportunities for growth,
Okay.
Instead of beating yourself up, try to understand what triggered those negative thoughts and how you can respond differently next time.
So those setbacks, they're actually giving us valuable feedback.
Exactly. They're helping us fine-tune our approach. And remember, you're not alone in this. We all experience those negative thoughts and challenges. It's just part of being human.
Yeah.
But the good news is we have the power to choose how we respond to those challenges. We can create a more positive and fulfilling experience for ourselves.
It's kind of empowering, actually. But I have to admit, sometimes it's hard to be kind to myself, especially when I'm feeling down.
I get it. That's where self-compassion comes in.
Self-compassion.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a good friend.
Oh, that's a good point. We're usually way harder on ourselves than we would ever be on anyone else.
Exactly. So next time you're feeling down or struggling with those negative thoughts, try to talk to yourself like you'd talk to a friend. Offer yourself some encouragement, some support, some understanding.
So instead of saying, I'm such a failure, I might say, hey, this is tough, but I'm trying my best. I'm learning and growing.
There you go. It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-support. And when you practice self-compassion, you're creating a much more nurturing and supportive environment for yourself. That makes it easier to navigate all those, inevitable challenges and setbacks.
That's such an important reminder. We often forget to be kind to ourselves, especially with all the chaos of everyday life,
It's true. And self-compassion, it's not about letting yourself off the hook or making excuses. It's about recognizing that you're human. You're worthy of love and kindness, even when you make mistakes.
I like that. It's about being on our own team, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And that kind of self-support, it can make all the difference in the world when it comes to rewiring our brains for positivity.
So we've been talking about rewiring our brains, for positivity, and how it's this ongoing process. It's like we're learning a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. And one of the most rewarding things about this whole journey is discovering how much of a ripple effect positivity can have, like on every aspect of our lives.
So it's not just about feeling a bit happier each day. There are like actual tangible benefits to this whole rewiring thing.
Oh, absolutely. The research on positive psychology is really something. When we work on having a more positive mindset, we're not just boosting our mood, we're actually improving our physical health, strengthening relationships, even increasing our chances of success.
Wow. Okay, so positivity is good for you. But I didn't realize the effects were so broad. Can you talk more about the science behind it?
Well, there's a strong link between positive thinking and a stronger immune system.
Really?
Yeah, positive people tend to have lower blood pressure, they recover from illness faster, they even experience less chronic pain.
So it's like positivity is giving our bodies a fighting chance.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. The benefits extend to, mental and emotional well-being too. Positive thinking helps to reduce stress and anxiety. It can combat those symptoms of depression, and it even boosts our overall resilience. when we're facing challenges.
So it's like a superpower for our well-being. But what about relationships? How does a positive mindset, how does that play into how we interact with others?
Well, when you're feeling, positive and upbeat, you naturally radiate that more positive energy.
Makes sense.
People are drawn to that. You're more likely to be optimistic, supportive, forgiving, all those things that create a more harmonious and enjoyable dynamic.
So we're not only benefiting ourselves, we're creating a more positive environment for everyone around us.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect. And those positive interactions, they ripple outward, spreading positivity even further. It's pretty amazing. And here's another thing. Positivity can actually contribute to our overall success in life.
Okay, now that's interesting. How so?
Well, when you have a positive outlook, you're more likely to, set those ambitious goals, persevere through the challenges, and ultimately achieve those goals. Positivity fuels our motivation, helps us stay focused on what we want.
It's like it gives us that extra push to keep going.
Yeah. And then when you experience success, it reinforces that positive mindset, creating this virtuous cycle. So as you can see, the benefits of rewiring our brains for positivity, they're really remarkable.
This has been really eye-opening. I feel inspired to keep practicing these techniques, keep moving forward on my own journey to a more positive mindset. But for those who are, just starting out, any final tips or resources you'd recommend?
One thing I always suggest is to surround yourself with positive influences. Seek out friends, family, mentors, even online communities that uplift and inspire you, and be mindful of the content you consume, whether it's news, social media, or books and podcasts. Choose content that nourishes your mind and spirit.
That's great advice. It's like creating a positive ecosystem for ourselves.
Exactly. And remember, this journey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself, celebrate the progress you make, and never give up on the pursuit of a more positive and fulfilling life.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights today. This has been an incredible deep dive into the power of positivity.
My pleasure. And remember, you have the power to rewire your brain for a happier, healthier you, one thought at a time.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've gained some valuable tools and inspiration to start, rewiring your own brains for positivity. Remember, even small steps can lead to big changes. Happy rewiring, everyone.
Yeah.